Outside, yeah. I'll do that. And how's everyone? The children are just waiting for us actually, and they're feeling quite distressed. So if we can just, is everyone back in, or is there a few more to come back in? There's a few missing, I think, isn't there? So, yeah. So just wait a little bit more, but they just want to get underway as soon as we can because they're a bit distressed, waiting and not knowing what's going on. Now, there's a whole group of children, and there's quite a few million of them, but we'll be able to speak to just a number of them, and the rest are listening anyway to the conversation. So are we all settled?
So there's a little boy, his name is Thomas. Thomas.
Yeah.
12, that's what he said, 13, sorry.
Yeah.
I got a little boy, Josie, who's 6.
6, yeah. Okay. So Josie? Josie?
Yeah, he's
Joseph.
Yeah, he calls himself Josie.
Yep.
Okay, so Thomas is sort of, he's like...
The leader.
The appointed, yeah. For this group anyway.
Yeah. Just wait a little bit. Just into it. That's it. Okay. There's a couple more coming in. I'm sorry. Sorry. Is everyone in from outside? Did you see anybody? Yeah. Good. With Thomas?
Yeah.
Yep.
We've never done this.
Talking through a person before?
Yeah.
Yep. That's okay. Does it feel a bit strange?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're keeping some distance from her.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You don't need to. She's going to look after you. It's not like she's not going to try and harm you. She's not as angry as the ladies that you were with. So.
We don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
We're alone.
Yeah.
We're cold.
Just frightened.
Yeah. Did you feel the protection of the women when they were with you?
Yeah, our mothers.
Yeah. But you could also feel they were pretty angry too.
We didn't really realise
how angry they were.
They feel different now, but they're not with us.
Yeah, but we can bring them back at any time, so that you don't need to worry. If I can explain some things, we can. Would you like to be in a really good place to live?
Yeah, we're frightened of bad people coming.
Yes, no, there won't be any bad people coming. Can I show you that around us at the moment, I'm just going to get some bright people to show themselves to you. And they're not bad people, they're going to be kind people. Can you see how many bright people there are around? Can you see those bright people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't know them.
No, that's okay. That's okay. They will care for you. And they'll protect you against any bad people. Does that make sense?
It's ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can protect you against any bad people coming while we're having a conversation.
We're afraid of bad men.
I understand that. Yep. And then I can help you and answer any questions you have, and then show you what's the best thing to do, and so that you can live in a happier place. Does that sound good?
Okay.
Yep. There's places in the spirit world that are really ideally suited for helping you?
We don't understand very much.
I understand. Do you understand that you've died?
No.
No? No. So you've not understood before that you were not on the earth anymore? No. And that's what's happened. That the bad men who did things to you finished up killing you, and now you're in the spirit world. But the thing is, they couldn't kill you. You see, they couldn't kill you because the reality is that you are a soul and you have a spirit body, and it doesn't matter what happens to your physical body. In the end, nobody can really kill you anyway. Does that make sense?
It means our life's over.
No, it doesn't. It just actually means your life's just beginning. Because there's a whole thing, the spirit world is made up of this huge universe that has all these different things in it that you can experience.
We're afraid.
I know you're afraid. I know you're afraid, but can you just remind yourself that you've got all these very bright spirits around you who are protecting you. So you don't need to be afraid.
We miss our mother.
Yes, I understand. And these bright spirits will be able to take you to your mothers. And I also feel, though, that you'll want to spend a bit of time away from your mums until your mums be a bit less angry than they are as well. Does that make sense? And you can go and visit your mum any time you want, and then you can go back and be where you normally would be, in a happier place, and then you can go and visit your mum and go back and forward any time you want. Would you like us to show you that? What if we show you that now? What if our bright spirit friends take you by the hand and they take you back to your mums? Can you see?
Scared to go with them.
Yeah? Why are you scared to go with them? Let yourself feel about them. Do they look like they're angry people? No?
No.
They feel kind?
Nice.
Yeah. So what if...
We never met anyone else before.
I understand. Because your mums are being very protective of you. Yeah. So you've never really met anybody else in the time you've been in the spirit world. But there are lots and lots of people in the spirit world. Lots of billions of people, actually. Do you know how much a billion is? No, it's like... Do you know how much 10 is?
Yep.
A billion is like 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10
wow.
times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10.
Wow.
9 times.
Where does everyone fit?
Well, the universe is really, really big. It's really big. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of people in the spirit world. Now, some of the people in the spirit world are not very nice people.
That's what we're afraid of.
And that's why these brighter spirits are around you, to protect you, so that you don't have to meet any of the people that are not nice people.
We didn't know there was nice people here.
Yeah, I understand. Because you've been living with your mums, and where your mums were, there wasn't very many nice people, right?
It feels... We're scared without our mums.
I understand.
But it's a bit different. Like...
Can you feel it's a bit happier as well?
It looks different around us.
Yeah. Well, the first thing we'd like to do is to take you to the place where these bright spirits would like to have you stay for a while. You don't have to stay there permanently, but it's just a place where there's better place for you to stay than where you currently are. Would you like that?
Yeah. Okay,
well, we'll do that now, and you still stay talking to us, but you'll go to that place as well. Does that sound good? So we can still talk.
Okay.
And you have some questions about this new place. So I'd like to answer your questions about this new place.
Okay.
Okay. So let's do that. Let's get our bright spirit friends to take you there. What do you notice? Pretty amazing, huh?
Yeah.
There's colours.
So many colours and different things that we've never seen.
Yeah. See how I said your life's just beginning?
What about mums?
Well, your mums can get to the same location But it's going to take a little bit of extra time for them to get to that location because they've got a bit of dark emotions to deal with.
And what about Papa?
Papa too will take a little bit of extra time to get to that place because he's got his guilt to deal with. Does that make sense?
He'll come.
They can come there, yeah, but it depends upon their desire. Like they have to go through a process and it depends upon how much they want to go through it.
So Papa's in a place like this?
Both Mum and Dad are not in a place like this yet, right? Now, the reason why they're not in a place like this yet is because they've got a few things to actually go through and learn first.
But they'll find us?
Well, actually, you can find them. Can I show you how to do that?
I can find Papa.
Can I show you both how to do that? And everyone can do it.
I feel bad, like I shouldn't leave Mum.
Yeah, well, Mum needs to go through her stuff by herself. She can't. She's not going to be helped going through it with you staying with her. But you can visit her at any time you want.
Okay.
Can I show you how to do that? Well, you notice coming from your heart, you notice there's some cords. Can you see the strings coming from your heart? It looks like energy, different colours.
Yes.
You notice there's some there that are sort of like a golden white colour. There's a few of those. Can you see that?
Yeah.
How many of those are you noticing?
There's one gold.
Yeah.
One or two white ones.
Okay.
Are they our brothers and sisters?
Well, no, what we want to do, rather than guessing what they are, let's follow the cord and see where it takes us.
Really?
Yeah. So let's do that, right? So our spirit friends that are with you will help you follow the cord.
They'll stay with us.
They'll stay with you. And they'll follow the cord and they'll see where it takes you. So let's follow that golden one first. So where is that taking you? Where does that golden one take you?
Is that Papa?
Yeah, see how it's taking you back to your dad?
Papa!
Yeah.
Can I say hello?
Yeah, of course you can say hello to him. Now, you don't want to stay with him though.
I just found him.
No, you can visit him any time you want
Papa.
and see how he's going. But you notice the surroundings that Papa's in. Can you see the surroundings?
He looks a bit different.
It looks a bit different, and it's not as bright a surroundings as where you could live, is it? You see that?
So I can come and go.
You can come back and go. You can come and go just by following that cord. Do you see?
Yeah, I'm back.
And what about yourself, Thomas? Like, when you follow that golden cord, where does that take you?
I feel like I'm not allowed to go. I have to go to the one that goes to Mum.
So it's not the golden cord that takes you to Mum.
Mm-mm.
Which cord do you think it is that's going to take you to Mum? Can you feel the cord that might take you to Mum? What colour is that cord?
It's like a whitey, grey colour.
Okay. And the reason why it's like a whitey grey colour is because it has different emotions in it. The grey emotions are a bit about fear. The white emotions are about love. So there's a mixture of fear and love with your mum. Can you see?
Yep.
And that's what you feel, isn't it, when you see your mum? There's a mixture of fear but also some love.
Yeah, I'm afraid.
Yeah. But you can always follow that cord to your mum and talk to her anytime you want, and then you can come back to where you are. You can do that anytime you want. Does that make sense?
I feel like Mum is going to be angry at me.
And Mum might be angry at you. That is true, because your mum does have some anger in her.
She's going to think I'm bad for going somewhere else.
Well, the reality is you're not bad for going somewhere else, even if your mum thinks that. The reality is that you have a certain condition of your own soul of love, and that's different to your mum's condition. And your mum's not as bright a condition as you. Right? And so you need to allow yourselves to be able to go back and forth if you want. To visit her, you can visit her. But my suggestion is to not spend long times with her, because she might get angry with you, and if you do, then you want to leave there and go back to the nicer place that's no one's angry at.
I feel really sad because I like the nice place, but now I feel like I'm not allowed to have fun here because
You are allowed to have fun. The feeling you're getting is from your mum, that you're not allowed to have fun unless she's having fun. Right? And that's not true. That's just her feelings. That's the feeling that she has, and it's not your feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what we need to do is we need to stop taking on mum and dad's feelings as if they are our own feelings.
How do I stop doing it?
Well, at the moment, that's what some of the bright spirits are going to be able to show you. They're going to be able to show you that you can go and trace these chords back to where they are, but sometimes it's not always going to be good to go and visit them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just followed the other one.
Yeah.
This is for my sister.
Right. And
she's with mum.
yeah. And she doesn't need to stay with mum. She could be where you are. So there might be...
Can I tell her?
Yeah, you can tell her that. You can tell her that. Yeah? Does she want to come with you? Yeah? So just grab her hand and we'll bring her back to where you are and see. And she can go back and visit mum too, if she wants to.
Okay.
Right. Now, mum's just holding on to both of you because mum feels some feelings about that. And mum needs to work her way through the feelings so that she can love you and let you both be in a happier place, even though she isn't there yet. Does that make sense?
Can mum come to visit us?
She can, as long as she works through those emotions. Can you see? So if she doesn't work through them, if she wants to be angry about it, then she won't be able to come and visit you. She'll only be able to come and visit you when she's not angry about it anymore.
But it's okay if I stay here.
It's okay if you stay where you are, yeah. So this place that I've brought you to is called Summerland.
I like it.
You like it? It's pretty nice, eh?
Yeah.
And this is a place where you can learn a lot. And
I feel sad, a bit sad.
What about? When you feel sad, all you need to do is cry. Does that make sense? You don't have to... Before, when you were with mum, she told you to stop crying. Right? But you're allowed to cry when you feel sad. Does that make sense? So just whenever you feel sad, all you need to do is just let yourself cry, and we can still talk about what you feel sad about.
I feel so tired from being scared of the bad men.
Yeah. So just have a cry that... It's relief now, isn't it? You don't have to ever see the bad men anymore. So it's a feeling of relief.
Thanks for bringing us here.
It's a pleasure.
Lots of us are coming now.
Yeah. Do you want to go back and get the rest of the guys and tell them what's here?
Yeah.
Because all of them can come here.
Yeah, and they're on their own without us.
That's right. So let's go back and get them. And they can all come here.
Yeah.
Is everyone here now?
Yes, it's hard for some of them because of the mums.
Because of the mums, yeah. Can you explain to them what I just explained to you about the mums?
Some other people are helping me.
Yeah. And what these bright spirits with you will do is they'll help explain to you when's a good time to go and visit mum and when's not such a good time to go and visit mum.
It feels so different because I feel good.
That's right. Yeah.
Good.
It's good, eh? Yeah. Now, God's made this big universe for you to play in. And the key is to understand the laws that are in the universe so that you can play everywhere.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And all the laws are about love, pretty much. So, you know how mum's in a bit of a darker place than you are currently? That's because there's less love in your mum at the moment than there is in you. Does that make sense?
Is mum bad?
No, it just means that there's less love, and where she is at the moment is the best place for her. That's the place that she feels the most comfortable in because of the less love in her. Does that make sense? Whereas you feel more comfortable where you are. If your mum came to where you are right now, she'd be less comfortable than where she is right now. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Because there's less love in her And so she'd be less comfortable being in a place of more love.
Right.
Yeah? And the whole universe is built around this, built around this love.
What about the bad men?
Well, the bad men have very little love in them, and so they live in a very, very dark place. Right? Do you want me to show you where they live?
No.
Not really. No.
Can they come here though?
No. Well, you can see how hard it is even for your mum to come.
Someone told me.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's yucky.
Yeah, it's yucky where the bad men live, isn't it? But they can't come to where you are. They have to live where they are until they become good men. And they can become good men. They can change.
Good.
But while they stay bad men, they're going to have to stay where they are.
Thanks. Thanks for bringing us here, because this is nice.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yep.
Now, where you are, there's lots to learn.
Yeah.
Lots to do.
It's so good. We can play here.
Yes. Yep. You can play as much as you want. You can experiment as much as you want. And you can also grow in love as much as you want. And remember I said that love is the thing that lets you experience all the universe. So it's worth thinking about growing in love as well.
I want to be an explorer like Christopher Columbus.
Do you? Yeah. Yeah.
I learn about him.
Yeah. So to be an explorer like him in the universe, you need to learn to explore love as well. Does that make sense to you? Explore what love is all about. That's the important thing.
Okay.
Because the basic rule in the universe is the more love you have, the more you can explore. And the less love you have, the less you can explore. So you remember the bad men that harmed you?
Yeah.
They're in a very, very confined place and they can't explore very much, can they, where they are? No. And where your mum is, when you visit her, she's in a better place, but not as good as where you are. And so she can't explore as much as you can.
Right.
Can you see?
Yeah.
So if you imagine getting into a brighter place, you can explore even more than what you currently have where you are.
My cousin came here now.
Yeah. And he's brighter.
Yeah, it's right what you're saying.
Yeah. And he can explore a lot more.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a basic principle of the universe that the more love you have in you, the more you can explore.
And I don't have to feel bad about Mum?
No. Whatever Mum's feeling is Mum's feelings. You don't have to feel guilty about Mum's feelings. And Mum's able to let go of her anger, and she's able to let go of her fear, and she's able to let go of her shame, and she's able to get to where you are, and in fact she's able to get to any place where you might go in the future if she really wants it herself. But she's going to have to really want it herself.
I would like her to come here and be with me and my sister.
Yeah, so go and tell her about the place you live. And tell her that she needs more love to get there. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
You can go and explain that to her once you learn more. And so what we want is these bright spirits that are around you now, they want to talk to you and show you all the different things that you can do.
But will they have to go somewhere else soon?
The bright spirits?
Yeah.
Well, they all have a place where they live, and they live in a better place than where you can live at the moment.
So who will look after us?
You will be looked after permanently by different ones, yeah?
Okay.
But they'll be able to come and go anytime they want.
I still feel a bit afraid about being alone.
Well, whenever you feel like afraid, the key is to feel afraid rather than trying to avoid the feeling. You remember how just earlier when you wanted to cry, you felt sad, and I said, all you need to do is let yourself cry. Well, it's the same when you're afraid. All you need to do is let yourself shake. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You don't have to stop it from happening. And if you do that, then you just stay where you are and you're still protected where you are. And if you're worried, then all you do is you ask God to come and protect you for a bit, and God will send somebody to protect you while you're worried. Does that make sense? While you feel, but you need to feel the fear.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot different than where you used to be for the last 50 years or so, hey? Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you'll remember that and you'll have a cry, so you let yourself cry. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. There are things that will just come up naturally where you feel like, oh, that was sad, and you let yourself have a cry, and just let yourself have a cry then and there. You don't have to hold on to it.
It seems a lot easier than that. Well, we didn't understand anything.
Yeah, and the problem is that your mum didn't understand that either, and so they couldn't teach you that. Whereas these brighter spirits that are around you, they can teach you things that your mum can't teach you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Now, at some point, hopefully mum will learn all those things as well, and she'll want to be where you are, and maybe mum will want to be even further than that. You know, she'll want to have more love in her heart too, and as she wants more love in her heart, then she'll desire to be in new places. Would you like to give some pictures of other places you can go to that you can't get to just yet because there's not enough love there? Would you like us to show you some pictures of those?
Yeah, we feel a bit sad about not being alive.
About not being alive, about having died early. Yeah. But I understand they're sad, so you remember every time you're sad, what do you... Just cry. You just let yourself cry. But understand too that the spirit world is really, really big, right? And you're not going to miss out on much in your life at all. Anything that you could have done on earth, you'll be able to do and more. Like, did you know in the spirit world, you can fly?
No.
Will you notice how the bright spirits come and go? How do they come and go?
Well, I don't know. We didn't look.
So have a look.
Wow. I'm a bit scared about that now. I don't know. I want to do it.
Do you want to try it?
Yeah.
Well, can you see a tree nearby? See a tree nearby?
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine, so you can see up the top of where the branch is at the top. Mm-hmm. You could stand up there, couldn't you?
Yes.
So instead of climbing the tree, should we fly up to that?
Yep. I did it.
And can you see how easy it was? All you had to do was imagine yourself being there, didn't you? And you were there.
Yeah. This is great.
Yeah. And you can't do that on Earth. So can you see how even though you're sad, you need to feel some of the sad. But the reality is there's a whole world to explore that's really, really different. And there's a whole lot of things you're going to enjoy.
Did you know I'm still on the tree?
Yeah, I didn't think you'd be coming down soon.
Okay. I feel a bit jumbled up.
Yeah. So that's a bit of confusion. That's a feeling of confusion. And
it's sad in my heart a little bit still.
Yeah.
So I'll just have to cry.
Can you feel what you're sad about? Not really. So just cry. It doesn't matter even know. You don't even have to know what you're sad about, really, do you? You just have a cry, and if you have a cry, then your sad's over.
I think I feel happy too.
Yeah. And sometimes you cry when you're happy too, right? Yeah, because it's like you spent a long time in a place that wasn't very nice, and it's a relief to be in a place that's a lot nicer, isn't it? Yeah.
It's so much nicer.
Yeah. Now the bright spirits with you, they can help you through all of these different things, and they can tell you a lot of things about the spirit world. But if you remember that one thing, that the more love you have in your heart, the more you can explore.
Thanks.
That's a really important thing.
Can we talk to you again?
Yeah, sure you can. Yeah. No, those things. Yeah. So you'll be able to trust those guys that are with you now? Yeah? Both the ladies and the men that are wanting to help you? Yeah? Yeah,
there's men now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to see where they want you to live for a little bit? Do you want to check that out?
Is it going to be better or worse than here?
Well, it's going to be pretty good.
Okay.
So do you want to fly there?
Yeah.
Okay. So what if we fly there with... do all the guys want to fly there? All the girls and guys want to fly there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't try it yet.
No, you try it. Do you want to try it first?
Yeah.
Just try it up the tree. But all of you can't go on the same tree.
They have friends now.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a new friend.
Yep.
Who's not from our group.
Yep. These are friends that are young like you.
Mm.
But they're people who have been in the spirit world, in this place, this Summerland place, for a longer time. Yeah. Yeah.
They're so nice. It makes me feel sad again.
Yeah, cry again, that's fine. Does that make sense? Every time these feelings of sadness come up, just let them come out. Don't have to hold on.
Happy sad. I feel happy sad.
Yeah, that's good. It's okay to feel happy sad.
Okay, let's go to the place.
Let's go to the place it is. You're going to get a surprise.
Okay.
Okay. So let's have a look. We'll go with some of those bright spirits.
Oh, it's so cool.
So what do you notice?
Well, I just really like it.
Yeah? Can you see how everything around you is making you want to ask questions?
Yeah.
So everything around you is geared to help you learn things.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Because you want to ask questions about what's there.
Yeah.
And can you see the place where you sleep? You need to sleep a bit, yeah.
Right. It looks nice. It looks great.
Yeah. Like a big palace.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah.
Can you try and describe it?
Sort of like, I remember sort of.
Yeah. Isn't this interesting? How come you remember?
I don't know. I feel sad again.
That's okay. You can remember you can cry every time you're sad.
It's like my best place.
Yeah? And what else do you notice?
It's all the things I like.
Yeah? Can I explain what's happening? When you used to go to sleep every single day when you were on Earth, this was the place you came to. So you've been here before. Feels like you've been here before, huh? Can you remember where everything is?
Yes.
See, every night we go to sleep, and particularly if we're children, every night we go to sleep, generally we come to this kind of place in Summerland.
It's like my place.
That's right, it is your place. It's not just like your place, it is your place.
Does everyone have a place?
Everyone has a place. Everyone.
How does it all fit?
Because the universe is really big. Remember I said that?
That's so good. I feel so sad that I haven't been here.
Yeah. Because the problem with staying with your mum is that you've been locked up in that place for a long period of time. But for all that time that Mummy wanted you with her, you couldn't come to this place.
But why did Mummy want me to come here?
Because she didn't know this place even existed. She didn't even know that you could have come here.
I thought she knew everything.
No, mummies don't know everything. Neither do daddies, actually. That's the problem. You know, there's a lot of things they think they know, but they often don't know much at all, actually.
I feel yucky.
What do you feel now?
I feel like I've been yucky to other people.
Mm-hmm. Well, what these people are going to help you do, what the bright spirits are going to help you do, is to feel what's called sad about that, but there's a word for it. It's called remorse or repentance. So every time you've been yucky to another person, what will happen if it comes up, you just let yourself have a cry and ask God to forgive you for that. Does that make sense? And they'll show you how to do that.
I trust them.
Yeah. And when you ask God to forgive you for things where you've been yucky, then God's bit of the extra of God's love come and takes away the reason why you've been yucky. And some of those reasons, most of them come from mum or dad. They didn't actually come from you in the first place.
I don't want to be yucky anymore.
No.
Thanks for being my friend.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, Tom. It's a pretty good system, though, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm going to explore it.
You see, everything that you learn too, if you wanted to, you can go back and tell mum about it. Right?
Yeah.
And then when mum gets angry with you, you say, sorry mum, I can't stay. Right? And just encourage her that she can become more loving and be in a similar place, because she can actually. Yeah? And would you like to see where you could also be in the future? Would you like to see that? Because there's even better places.
Okay.
I've got some friends that are now in some children friends who are now in the what's called the seventh dimension or seventh sphere.
Yeah.
And they're about your age, not much older than you, about the same age as you actually. Would you like to meet them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's meet them. And what if they give you a picture of where they live and what they've been doing?
I can't. Is that in this world?
Well, it's not in the dimension you're living in. The dimension you're living in is called the first dimension or the first sphere. Where they live is in the seventh dimension or the seventh sphere. So there's 6 dimensions between those two places. Do you understand? And yeah, so it is in the universe, and you can get there. Remember how to get there? Remember the one rule I said?
Love.
Love. So there's more love that the ones who are in front of you have received, and that enables them to go to those places.
Okay, I want to learn this thing.
Yeah, it's pretty good, hey?
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to go there because it looks really good.
Yeah, and there's places like there's a 7th dimension, and there's the 8th, and then there's a 9th, and then there's a 10th, and then there's 11th, and then there's 12th. So you imagine what these must look like. Then there's 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27.
It's too much.
Right. And
so, can I visit other people that
you knew on Earth?
Yeah.
Yep, you can, but you can't visit the people who are in a higher dimension without asking them to come and visit you.
I can ask people to come visit me?
Yep, you can. So if somebody's in a lower dimension than you, then they won't be able to visit you. You'll have to visit them. But if somebody's in a higher dimension than you, then you won't be able to visit them. They'll have to visit you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm going to ask Dad to come visit me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where do you think your dad is?
I don't know, but I think it's up when the cord
The gold cord?
Yeah.
Why don't you follow that? And if you can't go any further, then that means that he's in a higher place than you are.
Yeah, that's what happened before when I
You tried to follow it? Yeah. So why don't you ask whoever's at the end of that cord to come and visit you?
It's not Dad.
Who is it?
It's Granddad.
Granddad, yeah.
I don't call him Granddad. She keeps using what something is, but...
What do you call him? Upa. Opa.
Yeah, okay. I want to go now and talk to Papa.
Okay, that's good, because he's in a brighter condition. He must have more love, and if he's got more love, then he can teach you about love.
He's so nice.
Yeah.
He's so nice.
Yeah. Now, just before you go though, can I ask how everyone else is doing? All the other guys that were with you. Everyone's fine? Everyone understood what I was saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Now everyone wants to go and experiment, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Some people are sad.
Yeah.
And then other people are playing.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And the ones that are sad, remember I said all you need to do is just let yourself cry when you're sad, and then the sadness will be over. Remember I said that?
Mm.
Yeah.
I feel a bit embarrassed.
What about?
Because there's all those people watching me.
You mean the people in the room now that you noticed?
I just noticed.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. These are all people on Earth who are learning about the spirit world and learning about how things work, and they're also learning about love as well, because they want to learn about love. So you don't need to be embarrassed. Like, you've just taught them quite a lot about love already by having a chat with us.
I feel like I've been a bit silly.
No, you've been good. You've been good. You've been yourself, and that's really important. You see, a lot of people on Earth don't know how to be themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I talked to you, I could tell that you were like me.
Yeah?
Like...
In what way?
Like... Yeah, like I could just say what I think.
Yeah.
But I'm not supposed to be like that.
In front of the rest of them.
With grown-ups.
Yeah. So you can feel from some of them in the audience that they don't want you to be like that.
Well, Mum, yeah.
Yeah. And that's why you feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're just with me, you feel pretty comfortable, because I can let you just be who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the reality is this is something that people in the audience need to learn. They need to learn how to just be themselves. Does that make sense? And to not sort of criticise anybody being themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even by us talking about this, that's helped them know that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's good to have interactions like this, because people on the earth then finish up learning a lot of things that they wouldn't have otherwise learned until they passed into the spirit world.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Yep. So everybody now knows they're loved. We make sure of that. All of the people that were with you, there was a lot of people with you. How many people were with you when we started talking?
Well, I never...
You didn't count them, did you? No. But some of our spirit friends have. How many were there?
5 million.
Yeah, 5 million. Now, can we just make sure you don't have to check on every one of them, because that's a lot of checking. But if we can just have our spirit friends tell us that every one of them's fine, and then we write. But if any of them need a bit more help, then I'm happy to give them a bit more help.
Everyone's okay. They've all got a friend.
They've all got a friend now. That's good. Yep. Okay. You want to talk to Grandpa?
Yep.
Yep. No worries.
Thank you.
It's lovely to meet you, Thomas.
Bye.
Bye.
He was really cute.
Yeah.
He really got him. I didn't feel anything projection, but he was just like, whoa! All of a sudden, he didn't want to talk anymore. Yeah.
So one of the reasons why he didn't want to speak anymore is because he could feel those projections that you have going, like as a group of, not allowing yourself to be yourself, and therefore not allowing other people to be themselves. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. So, and it's a fairly large projection coming from most people on Earth. So most of the children who come to speak, if they tune into an audience, they very rapidly want to go again. And that's often why you don't get children communicating with groups of people on Earth.
You know how he was... he had a lot of... All of a sudden, I felt like this... he suddenly realised that he'd been nasty to people on Earth. He didn't really understand what he'd done, but he suddenly felt really sad.
what had happened was the mothers, who were in a rage, were causing the children that were with them to go into this real angry place with people on the earth and to attempt to get them to be stronger, like their term, stronger. And so a lot of the boys and girls who are a bit older, so instead of the younger ones like 5, 6 or 7, I'm talking now the ones that are near teenage years, and a lot of them engaged in behaviour to get their mother's approval. And so unfortunately a lot of the children then did what mum and dad wanted, well, mum in particular in this case, wanted them to do. And so he will have some feelings of remorse of those different things that happened. Yeah, as he works through.
And how does that affect his position in the spirit world? Like, if he's done... Because I could also... I could sort of see his home, and it was still... It wasn't yucky, like it was nice. Where
we took them initially was to Summerland, but his actual home is not going to be in Summerland for a little while.
Yeah, because it seems there's grey there as well.
This is why I was encouraging him to feel the sadness and remorse when it's present. Because if he does that, he'll very rapidly be into Summerland and then beyond that. But the reality is he has taken actions that were unloving to people on earth in order to get his mother's approval. And once he deals with the desire for his mother's approval, then he will also have dealt with the cause as to why he took those unloving actions.
And that was the other feeling he had at the end, was that he'd sort of engaged in this process and he felt really sort of childlike, and then at the end he felt like, especially when he saw there was adults watching, he hadn't been a good boy, like he's older and he should be more mature, like he had this real so I guess that's a hook into the parents as well.
Exactly. Dennis?
Would he have been overhoping on Earth?
He would have probably at his mother's request, or I would say it's more at his mother's insistence, and he would have automatically been trying to do whatever his mother directed him to do. So if his mother noticed a little boy on earth who was too soft, his mother would have wanted him to make that little boy harder. Does that make sense? To turn him into a strong man in the end. So some of the actions he would have taken would have been towards children, certainly. In order to toughen them up, as per mum's instructions.
Are there lots of children in the spirit world then who aren't in Summerland? They're being held in other places?
Yes, by their parents.
Died with their parents? So.
Often because they died with them, but also because of the different emotional bonds that parents impose upon them. This is where, as parents, we have very, very demanding emotions towards our children generally. And so when our children pass, one of the first tasks that spirits who are helpers try to do is break the emotional bond a bit between the parent and the child, because it's not a love-based bond, it's an addiction bond based on the parent's demands. And the love-based bonds will survive, but the addiction-based bonds need to go for the child in order for the child to progress. But unfortunately, it is very, very hard at times to break those addiction-based bonds. And so you get many groups of children in the spirit world staying with their parents for unnecessarily long periods of time, and often being in as much turmoil as their parents as a result of it, when they don't even need to be in that location. And so there are whole groups of spirits in the spirit world who are adept at helping the child break away from their parent, the parent's bond to them, which is an addiction-based bond. but they're not always very successful, and they certainly are less successful than you can be on Earth doing it. So in that process that I went through, one of the things that I was focusing on was trying to help them understand that they could go back and visit their mum at any time, but spending time all the time with mum is going to be very uncomfortable, and they need to understand why. And that's because mum is in a less state of love than they themselves are, and so therefore it's going to be uncomfortable spending time with her while she's working her way through her love issues.
But it was interesting because he felt a lot of guilt about that until he sort of was in Summerland for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But when he first went there,
the first
felt
emotion
guilty.
children feel is guilt. Yeah. But even the emotion of guilt is because of the projections of the mother. Mm-hmm. So the mother wants him to feel guilty so that she comes back and he stays with her. And this is where as parents on Earth, we need to look at our love issues with children, I tell you, because even many of us with adult children, we have all of these heavy projections at them, causing our even adult children to feel bound up by their relationship with us. Yeah. And it's a big issue to face for us to deal with that and stop projecting at our children, no matter what their age, that they live for us. You know, this is a big emotion that a lot of parents have on Earth and in the spirit world when they first pass, that the child has to be with me. How dare the child have a different life than what I have? And unfortunately, many of the children are in a better condition than the parents, and so they could easily have a better life, but unfortunately, because of these guilt-based bonds that the parents have imposed upon them, they don't embrace that better life until somebody comes along that actually takes them with them. But often they're frightened into not even going with those people by the parent.
So the celestials will sort of come to them and they pass into the spirit world, but because of the addiction with the parents, that basically with the parents, and then they essentially can be manipulated by the parents to do whatever.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So pretty much as soon as a child passes, there is an attempt to break the addictive bonds between the parents and the child, so that the child can go to Summerland and actually start enjoying their life very rapidly. Unfortunately, because of the addictive bonds and some of them being so strong, it's not always possible to break those bonds. And in fact, there are many, many children, and I mean billions of children in the spirit world, who are yet to enter Summerland because of the addictive bonds they still have with their parents, and because of their parents' lack of progress in the spirit world or on Earth. So if, say, a parent passes over in the spirit world and passes over into the hells of the spirit world, often it's because of the way they've treated their child that they pass into that location. And then when their child passes, particularly if the child has already passed or passes early, and the child feels drawn into that same location, and then the parent and the child have exactly the same relationship they had on Earth, but the child could actually be living in Summerland, but unfortunately the parent's not going to allow them to while they have their current emotional condition.
That also counts for us as adults, doesn't it? Say our parents pass, but we're carrying this huge desire to still be loved by our parents. When we pass, we can actually be drawn to our parents' location, even if it's actually lower than our soul condition, because we just want that addiction there.
Yeah, you see this often a lot also with partners, like married couples, where one half of the married couple is in a darker condition and another is in a brighter condition, and the one in the darker condition has so much demand upon the one in the brighter condition that the one in the brighter condition lives with the partner in the darker condition, not realising they could be living in a brighter condition. Right? And it's often the one that thinks they're better that actually is in the darker condition as well. So it's often the partner who thinks they're better than the other partner that's actually in the darker condition. And it's just it gets all very muddy. And part of progression in the spirit world is coming to realise that we all have the right to be where we are. So we all have the right to actually live in a location that matches our condition, rather than living with people who are in a worse condition than ourselves.
A lot of people that a lot of people who might know this answer, but I don't.
Yep.
Surely when they pass over, is that it? Is it really, do they not grow like we do as humans?
No, they continue to grow, but their growth is a choice. So there are many children who have been there for 1,000 years but still have a child's body because they've yet to choose to grow their body. But generally, most children do grow into adults, and particularly this is the case with ones who pass who have miscarried or have been aborted. They grow into children and then grow and continue to grow after that into an adult. But it depends on their will as to how rapid that occurs. Yeah.
And the other question is, those poor children that were burnt up there in Queensland, are they okay? Like, in a good spot? Or?
Every child who ever passes over is given as much assistance as possibly can be given the different laws of attraction in place. As I said, the worst attraction for a child is the drawing nature of their parents' emotional condition. So if the parents are in a grieving condition where they're hanging on to their child, then it's highly likely the child will be around them quite frequently and also therefore not getting as much help as they could get.
Okay.
And this is where, as parents, it's very important for us to deal with our addictive emotions with our children, and also, if our children ever pass, to allow them the freedom of their growth that can occur in the spirit world when they do pass. Not many parents do that. One of the most difficult things to do as a helper is to break a bond between a parent on earth who's lost a child and the child's in the spirit world. Because the parent is usually in an addictive grief about the child, and therefore drawing the child constantly to him or her, and that prevents the child from actually being in Summerland and enjoying itself in Summerland. And it's one of the worst things you can do to your child, to actually have an addictive grief. An addictive grief is a grief that's based around anger and rage and resentment and so forth. So let's say our child passes and we're alive on earth. Many parents then go into a rage with God and a rage with, whoever caused the death or whatever. And these kind of addictive rages, which are nothing to do with feeling grief, really, they are holding on to grief.
Yeah, hanging on to,
They actually prevent the child from any growth and any semblance of happiness in the spirit world, unless a spirit can disconnect the child from that particular emotion. Remember I described to these children that they had these different cords coming out of their heart? And remember that he described the different colours. Some colours were different than others, and the golden colour was actually the greatest connection, and that was with his grandfather. But he couldn't get there because his grandfather was in a higher condition. But there was the white colour that was coming out of his heart, which is his love for his mother. But there was a grey tinge to it, which was his fear of his mother. Does that make sense? So every one of those cords coming out of their heart takes them somewhere. And depending on how demanding that cord is to where that child will go. And so the cord with his mother was still pulling him back to his mother, even though his mother was in the spirit world in a darker condition. And unfortunately, these cords also go back through the barrier between life on earth and the spirit world. So often a child who passes, like children who pass from leukemia or some other childhood disease, they often have a very, very powerful pull back to the earth for a long period of time until the parents grieve their loss. completely and in a non-addictive manner.
Most of it's just guilt. Oh, I should have done this and I could have done
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. A lot of it is the so-called grief that we feel on earth often is not grief at all, but rather it's guilt, shame, and other emotions where
about me.
Yeah, it's really about us, not about our loss of the person, and so unfortunately a lot of the emotions projected at the child are quite damaging through that grieving process. And the better that we can connect just to the pure grief and release that, the faster the child has an opportunity to grow and change.
The worst part is society tells us it's okay unless we're here, unless we're doing this work. Society's saying this is all okay.
Yeah, and I suggest that it is okay to grieve, but you've got to be very careful what you're grieving about and be very honest about it. Yeah. So if you're grieving the loss of somebody, are you really grieving their loss, or are you really, or in reality, are you just grieving selfishly, for selfish things?
Lessons on what grief means.
Yeah. And it's important for people on earth to understand the difference and the effect that it has on children in particular in the spirit world. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so you've got you've got a parent on earth and a child that's passed.
Yep.
And say you've got a toxic grief, let's call it, about that child. That actually pulls them to an earthbound state around you.
Yes.
So, and they would be physically close to the mother, let's say it's a mother.
Yes, while the mother's awake. Yes. Yeah. And then when the mother's asleep, they'll probably still be bound to her in the sleep state.
So they're just caught in around the mother.
Yes. Yes.
And they can't actually get to Summerland. And
they won't actually spend much time in Summerland at all, either awake or asleep. If mother's awake or asleep, the child won't be spending much time in Summerland in any condition unless the child has learnt to separate. And what a large task of the spirits who are helping children is to help the children separate from the parent and those projections. Because remember, in that, there's a lot of things you could learn from that channeling actually with the children. Because remember, he described how he remembered where he's now living. And a lot of people don't realise that either. That actually in your sleep state, you have a place to live in your sleep state, and when you pass over, there is things that join everything together in your memory, and you start remembering that every time you went to sleep, you actually were there. There's a lot of very powerful lessons in that channeling, actually.
When such bad things happen to people like the Jewish people, is that partly law of attraction?
In what way are you suggesting?
Well, I guess I'm mindful of the Australian Aborigines and other Aboriginal people, and how the huge shift in their world happened when white people come to Australia. Are they purely victims there, or is that something, the law of attraction, which is operating, or?
Well, yeah, when you say are they purely victims, the reality is there are oppressors on the earth, and then there are people that are oppressed. And the reason why oppressors focus on the oppressed is because the oppressed are gentler, they have a softer nature, they are easy to oppress. Now, I wouldn't call that their law of attraction, I would call that the attraction of the oppressor. So in other words, the oppressor is seeking out a person they can oppress. And unfortunately, the way things are on earth, because love isn't the dominant quality, but rather fear, rage and anger are the dominant things, what happens is that unfortunately we get a group of people who are more gentle type of people and easy to oppress, are then selected and oppressed by the people who are the oppressors, who are in a much worse condition. conditioned. And while there is a law of attraction going on, it's not something that the oppressed need to correct. It's something the oppressor needs to correct. Does that make sense? There are unloving emotions in the oppressor, not in the oppressed. And it's the oppressor who needs to deal with those emotions, not the oppressed.
But I think a little bit the way perhaps you're viewing the law of attraction is that it's about punishment, or do you know? There's an issue. The law of attraction is a loving law, and I think it's just trying to articulate what I sense. Then, I'm concerned about missing some of this discussion, and my battery's about to run out, so I'm going to just stop the recording. Okay, darling, fire away. I think that sometimes the way we view God's laws tells us a lot about the feelings that we have about God that we might not recognise that we have. So when we view the law of attraction as, for example, if Kenny came and kicked me, maybe in the old way we would have viewed it, we would have blamed Kenny. He did something bad to me and I'm allowed to get angry at him. Then we learn about the law of attraction and we sort of become, okay, I attracted that, so there's some injury inside of me, and we get a little bit intellectual about the whole thing, but we're still carrying these feelings that God is creating an unloving thing so that I get better, which is actually about a punishing God, isn't it? When I sort of have this feeling about the law of attraction that it's a loving way that God is guiding me to uncover what's an error inside of me. And so in some cases, the law of attraction brings me something that uncovers that in a way that I might find less confronting, and sometimes it feels confronting. But if we're carrying this feeling that really comes from our parents about God, which is that God is really trying to, put the finger on me and show me, then we can feel like the law of attraction is about exacting some kind of punch or slap in order for me to see my injury, and that sort of says we feel God is punishing. And so when you sort of say, like, are they purely victims or do they have a law of attraction, it kind of says, do they have a fault? Because, that's why they would attract something. I don't know if I'm explaining it well.
The reality is they do have a law of attraction.
Everybody
does.
A law of attraction.
This is like a karma-based thing, really, aren't we? A negative thing, karma-based. Like in the old way of thinking, we'd be treated as a karma. Karma was a negative thing, as getting something back.
But the reality is quite different to that.
Yeah, it's not.
The reality is our soul, which is out of harmony with love on the earth generally, and this applies to every single soul on earth. There is some disharmony with love inside it. Now, some of the disharmony with love is not about rage and anger and oppression, but rather it's about fear and being oppressed.
And feeling like guilt.
And feeling guilt or shame or other emotions, right? So the reality is that we do need events that we attract to ourselves if we want to get closer to God, to deal with each one of those groups of emotions. However, we can't then say that the person who's oppressing us is actually doing a loving thing. Because the reality is they're choosing an unloving action that is actually damaging their own soul if they continue in it. So while the law of attraction their unloving action may benefit me, so at the moment, like, there's millions of spirits attacking myself and Mary quite frequently. Their attacks are benefiting myself and Mary because we're going through different emotions that we do need to clear as a result of them. But their action is not benefiting their own soul because their own soul is getting darker. So.
And also, you are not deserving of the attack. You're attracting it because there's an injury inside, but also we might attract someone loving us really completely, and that might trigger the injury inside of us, and both things are a law of attraction. So if Kenny came and kicked me, his action would still be unloving. And even though there might be an injury inside of myself that attracted that if I really want to grow towards God, then I will own and feel and release.
Rather than trying to attack Kenny back.
It's still, the act is still an unloving act, and it also doesn't mean I deserved his kick just because I have the injury inside of me.
The unfortunate thing about the earth is that there are very few people in a loving enough condition to trigger our emotions in a loving way in order for us to heal.
Because Kenny could come and give me a hug and trigger exactly the same emotion. It's just that at the moment, the law of attraction is operating with the soul condition that's
present.
So when you passed in the first century, you were at 1, so you didn't have any injuries to feel.
No.
It was still your law of attraction.
It was still my law of attraction in the sense that any time you're in a condition of truth and in a condition of love, if you're surrounded by people who are in a condition of untruth and unloving, then what happens is they often feel jealousy, rage and other emotions, which then intensify when they're in your company.
Because
that's the law of attraction.
It is the law of attraction at work. Rather than saying it's his law of attraction, it is the law of attraction at work.
So the reality is my presence in front of them automatically created them feeling rageful with me, even though I did not deserve that rage. Right? And that, in fact, is why their souls degraded in the experience of their rage. Even though I did not deserve their rage, the reality is having somebody who was in a pure state in front of them was going to trigger their rage if they denied their deeper emotions of grief and sadness and shame and those other emotions, which they did do. They had a choice to feel their shame, their grief and their fear when they were in my presence, and if they did that, then they would never have got into a rage with me. They would never have degraded their own soul conditions through their attack of me, and the reality is I would never then have experienced the death that I experienced. But the likelihood of that occurring in the environment was pretty low.
But can you see the love inherent in that? The loving law of attraction attracts the state of truth, the confrontation between the state of truth and error. But because you're working with the free will of everyone involved, it is the most loving thing that could happen, because it gives that person an opportunity to face the error, which is what all of us have the opportunity to do if we're consciously aware of the law of attraction. But because there's the law of free will involved, God can't guarantee that they're going to actually face the error and grow in love, and so the law of free will causes that.
So their choice, their free will choice, to either deny the emotion or to allow the emotion. If they allow the emotion, there's a high likelihood they will not harm you. If they deny their emotion, there's a high likelihood they will. And that's not your fault. It's just the law of attraction in work when a person who's pure is standing in front of a person who's got shame in them and got fear in them and got sadness in them that they don't want to feel.
And so the loving thing is that they have that opportunity is created. If they take it, they grow in love. If they don't, then there's a penalty upon their soul, and they attract something that's going to help them deal with that error.
And like you said a moment ago, and I think we tend to view it as my or your law of attraction rather than
whenever anybody says my law of attraction, I go, I'm sorry. God's law of attraction, not yours.
It's in operation on all of us.
The reality is that what it works upon is your soul condition. So you'd be better off saying my soul condition created a certain event, because the law of attraction is in place all the time, and it's my soul condition that created the event, not your law of attraction that created the event. There's no such thing as your law of attraction, actually. There is God's law of attraction that operates upon your soul as well as upon the souls of every single being in the universe, and that law is constant and continuous and also the same for each of us. In other words, if we had exactly the same emotion at exactly the same time with exactly the same situation, the law would act in exactly the same way. Does that make sense to everybody? So we need to understand the law of attraction as being God's law of attraction operating upon our soul condition. And unfortunately on the earth there are not too many loving things acting upon our soul condition in terms of our experience, earth-to-earth experiences, because unfortunately there are not very many people on earth who are in a very strong condition of love that could actually act upon our law of attraction to give us what we need to grow. There are huge numbers of spirits around us who are trying to love us through the law of attraction and helping us through our law of attraction through the law of attraction to grow. But unfortunately, we often don't feel them very strongly because we're more in tune with all of the negative people around us generally than we are to the positive people around us. And that's a condition, again, that's on earth.
AJ, I feel like I feel my law of attraction as
Whose law of attraction?
God's law of attraction.
Yeah. So your soul condition.
Yeah.
You feel your soul is attracting.
I feel it as as a shame and an embarrassment. Yep. And I wondered why that would be. Is that because my mum taught me that I was to care what other people thought, or is there more to it than that? Or
there's quite a lot to it, obviously, and sometimes it can be your mother's shame and embarrassment. Sometimes it can be that she caused you to feel shame and embarrassment inside of yourself when you were a child. The key, and what I see a lot of people still doing a lot, is trying to analyse emotion through their intellect. Can I suggest to you that it's totally impossible to analyse emotion through intellect? Give it up as an option. Instead, the more powerful thing to do is to just feel the emotion. So, if the emotion is shame that is triggered in a certain event caused by God's law of attraction and your soul attracting that through that law, then my suggestion to you is to just feel the emotion. Just go into that emotion, not trying to work out what it was about. Because the reality is, it's only usually after you've felt the emotion that you'll know what it was about. And even then, sometimes that's unlikely because a lot of times it's stuff that happened in our childhood before we were 2 years of age when you didn't even have an intellectual knowledge of what it would be about and you just have the feeling and you don't even know why. And the problem with intellectualising the process is that you cause yourself to go, oh, was it this or oh, was it that? No, was it this? And the reality is, while you're doing that, and the primary reason why you're doing that is because you want to avoid the emotion. So you're not actually helping yourself get to the emotion, you're helping yourself avoid the emotion by intellectually analysing what the emotion is about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you feel shame, feel shame. Don't go, oh, this is about, I think it's about my mother and maybe it's about this. This is all the intellect trying to make you feel safe. So instead of you going like, I don't feel safe feeling it either. Like I feel shame and I don't feel safe. And feel the fear that you have involved in feeling the shame.
That's what I came to realise, that every time I wanted to understand or analyse my emotion, it was a product of the fear that I wasn't acknowledging about that.
So, and I see people analysing, discussing, and trying to work out, and every time they don't want to feel it. It's far faster. Just like you remember with the child.
Yeah, he just was like in and out.
In and out. There was this emotion come up, and then happiness come, and then emotion come, and then happiness. Now, the average person on earth going between that in a normal day, what is it called? We give it names. We give those kind of things where you go through sadness and then you're happy again and then you're sad and then you're ashamed and then you have...
Mood swings. We
call that mood swings, yeah. And we call it, we give them names, right? And basically what we're saying is none of those things are any good. We can't do that. But the reality is that the soul has the ability to feel its emotion there and then every single time. And if you allow it to do it, the mood swings become less, if we can call them mood swings. So you might be angry, sad, shameful, all these different emotions all the way through the day. But if you feel each one of them rather than intellectually analysing each one of them, the next day you'll have less of them. But if you try to intellectually analyse them and go, what's this about? What you're doing now is you're shutting down this natural process that occurs for a child, really naturally. It doesn't occur for us as adults naturally, but as a child it does. And then what happens is we finish up manipulating our emotional state, which is really carrying a facade, and in the end, carrying a facade is not going to help you be real, and it's not going to help you get to every emotion. And on top of that, you end up finishing up trying to control the process of release, when the process of release is subsequent to you living your life. So what we see a lot of people doing is they go, okay, I need to feel my emotions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a life where I'm feeling my emotions. And so then they go into analysing your emotions, feeling it. Now, my suggestion is stop doing that. Live your life and just let every emotion that gets triggered come up whenever it happens. So when I say live your life, I mean now embrace your passions and desires. And then when you feel like, I didn't get my passion and desire fulfilled, how did you feel? Maybe angry. So you go and feel angry about it. And then maybe you feel like, I'm never going to get what I want. There's a lot of grief in that. So you go and have a cry about that. But still go and embrace your passion and desire. Don't give it up. Live the life, live your life. And let the emotions come up naturally, just like as you saw that child doing. He flew up into the tree, got to the tree, we talked a bit about that, very happy about that, and then all of a sudden some grief come up.
It was a little bit surprising for me to channel it too, because I was like, it was happening, and I was like, wow, it's actually nice to channel a child, because like, get over it.
You see how a little child acts most of the time. You see little children do this all the time. They injure themselves something horrifically sometimes, and then 10 minutes later they're out playing again. Why? Because they allowed themselves to fully experience the emotion at the time. That's how they got over it so fast. So if we can learn to do the same as adults, and I'm not saying that we take those emotions out on other people. I'm saying that we need to own them and feel them ourselves, and we don't, do the facade thing, which is just having a big cry because it looks like I'm doing good then because I had a cry. But this is what a lot of people judge on the divine love path. They say, if I'm having a cry, it means I'm progressing. The reality is, like I've seen like most people that I've seen in that place are having a cry for the sake of a heap of spirits around them, and they're not doing any of their own emotional work at all, and they're not actually progressing. So the reality, if we can embrace our life, embrace our passions, embrace our desires, and then just have an internal dedication that any emotion that comes up, I'm going to feel right there and then if I can. And feel it and release it. The more I can release it, then the next time that same situation comes up, which is unlikely because the law of attraction works upon our soul and our soul's changed. But if it does come up, then we can just go into it a lot more rapidly, and it'll be over a lot more quickly and so forth, if we just let that process happen.
If you have a dream about a place that you live in the spirit world, is that likely that that's the sort of place you live?
Well, there's two possibilities, Cecily. One is it's the place that you hope you live. The other is it's the place that you live. And you see a lot of
I didn't know about this path when I had this dream.
Yeah. And a lot of times we hope we live in certain places that we don't live, or that we've visited certain places that we allow ourselves to remember. In the spirit world, spirits can take us temporarily to a place that is above our condition, and they can show us that place. We can't live there permanently because of our condition. So there are literally many things we might remember. Some of them might be other people's places that we think are our own, and some of them might be our own, and some of them might be where we hope we live, but we're because of those emotions. And the key is to allow ourselves to consider that there is a number of possibilities with any one of our dreams as to what the truth is, and sooner or later those possibilities will be revealed into truth if we allow ourselves to pray about them and acknowledge them.
If it's very graphically about something that pertains to, yourself, like a story, because I have a feeling for how I understood it at the time, and now I'm being intellectual about it. I guess I just don't really know what to say. I sort of have a feeling about it, but...
Can you feel the feeling in you, though, that there's a doubt now inside of you as to whether your original assessment of the dream is now actually accurate, and instead of feeling the doubt and actually working through it emotionally, you're now asking me for the solution? Can you see that? So really you're asking me because you want to avoid an emotion, not because you want to actually have the emotion. So the emotion is an emotion of doubt that then feels like unsafe and insecure. Allow yourself to feel it. Doubt is an emotion. Allow yourself to feel it. Allow yourself to sort it out in your own self, and rather than asking other people questions that help you feel safe, you are better off feeling unsafe and feeling the emotion that it's triggered than you are trying to feel safe, if that makes sense. What is the time, by the way? Yeah. We said to the guys that we'd finish about 9:30 tonight, so we probably want to finish now. It's 10 past 10, and if we go too late, then myself and Mary often are pretty tired for the next day of activity, which is going to be fairly intense tomorrow for us. We'd like to thank you for your time tonight. Hopefully you've enjoyed some of tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Some of you may be interested in developing mediumship inside of yourselves, and Pete and Eloise have got a group running on. When's the next meeting? This Thursday coming, and it's Thursday every fortnight after that, isn't it? So those of you who'd like to come along and help go, develop. But when you come along to these meetings, come with a desire to do it yourself, rather than watch other people do it. Do you understand? Come along with a desire to learn for yourself and experience it for yourself. And if you can do that, many of you will actually be able to talk to your spirit friends quite soon, and talk to other people quite soon as well. If you go through that by having a desire of it for yourself.
Yeah. Thanks for being a welcoming audience. This is the first time I've channeled in front of anyone, really. So, other than a couple of close friends. So, yeah, you were very